Hello, what is up, everybody? My name is Tyler Adolfo. I hope that you are all having a wonderful day. And the topic for today's video, weight gain and bipolar medications. I'm going to share with you my story, my experience. So I'm going to be as honest and straightforward as possible. I certainly don't want to be sued by any pharmaceutical companies. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. I don't think it will. But that aside, experiences are going to be different for everybody. This is just my individual experience. I would in no way say that it's representative of how everyone has felt taking these medications. But I just want to be honest because I wish I had known more before I started the process of treatment. But before we even get into that, I suppose the best place to start is, where was I in a weight standpoint? In terms of weight, I weighed 180 pounds on October 27th, 2021. That is when I was checked into a hospital for severe mania and bipolar disorder. I was in the hospital for about 5 days, and I was ultimately released from the hospital without any treatment plan to help me on the outside. You would think a place like that would help facilitate some type of process for you to recover, but the exact opposite happened. Absolutely nothing. So no process was developed in my case, and I went back into the world in full-blown mania, and I have videos of that on my channel if you want to check that out. But going forward, my manic episode extended from October 27th, 2021, and lasted even throughout the month of March of the following year of 2022. That's how intense it really was. A major thing happened, though, in February of 2022, and that major thing is that I started treatment myself. I went into an outpatient clinic, and I was still manic at the time, so of course they diagnosed me immediately as manic and bipolar. And I agreed to take medication. The first one they put me on was Abilify. And I'm going to give credit where it's due. Abilify helped alleviate the symptoms that I was experiencing during mania, and it brought me to a point where I had a grasp of reality again. Because while I was manic, I had all kinds of delusions and hallucinations that were interfering with my perception of the world and that were very destructive to my relationships. And Abilify definitely expedited the recovery process. And at this particular moment in time, there was no massive weight gain, so to speak. It's when I started getting put on more medications that I started to experience negative consequences. A lot of these medications that I was ultimately put on have side effects listed as small to moderate weight gain. And when you take multiple medications with small to moderate weight gain as a listed side effect, you can imagine what the enumerated consequences of that are going to be. When they combine, it just gets even more catastrophic. So initially, I was very responsive to medication. It brought me out of mania, and I got to give credit where it's due. It saved my life in that regard. But as time went on and I got put on more medications, my weight started to tick up and tick up. And before you know it, I weigh 350 pounds. I hit the 350-pound mark a couple months ago, and I've kind of stabilized at 350. I use the word stabilize very lightly because I've used it before, and it's gotten me into trouble. I thought I stabilized at 300, but then I gained to 315. I thought I stabilized at 315, but then I gained to 330. And I actually have a video on my channel talking about how I gained 150 pounds after taking bipolar medications. That video is now outdated because the number now stands at a whopping 170 pounds, which is why I'm making this video. I went from 180 to 350. So the important thing to just remember is that the medications brought a lot of insight to myself, helped me understand what exactly transpired. And I became profoundly depressed as a result because I had this 5-month-long manic episode during which relationships were destroyed, I lost my education, I lost my job, I got arrested. All these negative things accumulated and contributed towards the depression that I feel now. Bipolar disorder is definitely not easy to live with. It's called the highs and the low, but if I had to categorize my experience as just one, I would categorize it as low. Because even during mania, I was feeling symptoms of depression, but the difference is I wasn't putting on weight. And I was living a very active lifestyle before my mania. It wasn't until I started the medications that my behaviors started to drastically change. And I never adapted to the point where I still maintained some of my past good habits. I simply failed to adapt. And I ended up adopting new bad habits, which have consumed my life. I don't exercise daily anymore. Although, I gotta say, this is the 3rd day in a row that I've gone to the gym, so this is pretty huge for me. And I'm hoping I get some progress on the scale there. And I've been cutting back in the kitchen. So we're going to move in a positive trajectory. But up until this point, 3 days ago, I was not exercising daily. I was depression eating. And going through the medications that I was on, I want to tell you the 5 medications that I'm on now. Now, there's a lot that I've been on. I've been on so many medication cocktails, I couldn't possibly name all of them, but I'm going to try for you, the viewer. So, the medications I'm on now are lithium, which is pretty common, I hear, for bipolar disorder. Lamotrigine, Vraylar, escitalopram, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Wellbutrin. Now, on every single one of these medications, I gained weight shortly after starting the medication for treatment. Now, how much of this is attributed to the depression that I'm feeling in general versus the medications themselves? It's hard to pinpoint exactly, to give an exact amount. However, it's worth noting that several of these medications are supposed to help you with depression. They're supposed to be a pretty significant part of treatment in that regard. But I've experienced what my psychologist has called depression resistant. I'm resistant to medications that treat depression, which I'm skeptical of in some degree because many years ago, when I was in high school, I was depressed at one point, and I ended up taking an antidepressant called Zoloft, an SSRI. And on that SSRI, I experienced monumental success academically. My best academic years in high school were while I was on that medication of Zoloft. It alleviated my symptoms of anxiety. I didn't have panic around people anymore. I didn't have generalized anxiety, and it helped with my depression. But now I'm on all these, medications meant for bipolar, and I can't say I've had the same experience replicated. I wish it were the case, but it simply hasn't. So I gained 170 pounds in 1 year. That's a lot of weight to get off. From 180 to 350. And the weight gain didn't start until I started taking bipolar medications. I just want to really emphasize that point so that other people who are in the position that I am can do research and ask their psychiatrists, does this drug have any weight gain? associated with it as a side effect? If so, to what degree? Are there any medications that I can possibly look into that don't contribute significant weight gain? These are all important conversations to have with psychiatrists, important conversations that I clearly never had with mine. So a little bit hypocritical of me to be offering this advice that I didn't use myself, but I was in a depressive state, so I really wish I had run into somebody who would have told me this before I went into that situation, but it didn't happen, and here I am. So that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoy. I know this was a little bit negative, and I'm sorry. It's just being truthful and honest. I don't want to lie to you, that's for sure. And so I'm just keeping it real is what I'm doing. But share me your experiences down below. Do you know someone with bipolar? Do you have bipolar yourself? And what changes did you notice in their weight or your weight after starting treatment for the disorder? I've run into many people online because I don't run into a lot of people these days, unfortunately. I used to be very, very socially affable, and now I'm not in the slightest. But lots of people who have bipolar experience drastic weight fluctuations. So I want to hear your story. How did treatment affect you? Is it similar to my story where there's both positive and negative derived from the treatment? Or have you had a more negative experience, or has your experience been completely positive and you haven't had any weight fluctuations at all? I want to hear your story. I shared mine. Let me know what you think below. Thank you all for stopping by. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. But that's it for today. You all have a marvelous day.